Little Emma and her younger brother Liam stumbled out of the house, screaming for help. They'd been locked in the basement by their stepmother. Emma's leg was broken, her fragile body trembling after days without food. She collapsed onto the wet pavement until the screech of brakes shattered the silence. From a sleek black sedan emerged an elegantly dressed man, a millionaire who, upon witnessing the scene, did something so moving that everyone present couldn't hold back their tears. So settle in, relax, and listen to this story. I hope it becomes that gentle lullaby helping you sleep peacefully tonight. David Martinez was folding each shirt carefully, placing them neatly inside his suitcase. He was a methodical man, someone who found comfort in discipline. He'd left home many times before, but this time felt different. His eyes lingered longer than usual on the framed photo sitting on his desk, Emma perched on his shoulders, cheeks pink under the Texas sun, while Liam laughed, trying to reach his father's hand. Behind them stood Vanessa, the woman David once believed was destiny's delayed gift. What city are you watching this video from, and what time is it? By the way, if you're enjoying my videos, I'd be so happy if you could subscribe to my channel and like this video. Vanessa had entered his life 3 years ago, shortly after his first wife's death. She was a manager at a furniture company David had partnered with on a housing renovation project in Austin. Beautiful, intelligent, with that ability to make others feel needed, David, feeling empty after the funeral, found in her a tenderness he thought he'd never feel again. They married 6 months later. Emma and Liam were still too young to understand why suddenly another woman lived in their house. 3 years had passed, and the warmth that once filled that home had grown cold. David remained kind and attentive, but between them, silence grew like an invisible wall. Vanessa no longer prepared breakfast, rarely smiled, and spent more time on her phone than with the children. That morning, David left her a long list of reminders. Emma needs her bandages changed twice a week. The anti-inflammatory is in the second drawer. Give Liam his warm milk before bed. Vanessa interrupted with a slight smile, cold as ice. I know, David. You can relax. I'm not as incompetent as you think. David nodded silently. He knelt and hugged his children, telling Emma to obey her mother and Liam to behave. Emma's little hands clung to his neck tightly, terrified that if she let go, he'd disappear forever. I promise, Daddy, she whispered, her gaze fixed on the cast around her leg. When David closed the door behind him, Vanessa didn't walk him to the gate. She remained at the top of the stairs, listening to the engine start and the car pull away. Silence filled the house. She exhaled slowly, relieved. She began clearing the dining table, gathering toys scattered across the floor and tossing them into a box. The children's drawings Emma had taped to the refrigerator disappeared, crumpled into the trash. Passing by David's study, Vanessa stopped and locked the door. That afternoon she called her mother, complaining that David had left on another long trip and that she was sick of caring for someone else's children. Her mother's voice sounded dry. You made your choice. Now live with it. That night, dinner passed in silence. Vanessa sat across from the children, scrolling through her tablet while eating. Emma carefully fed Liam spoonfuls of oatmeal, but the boy's trembling hands caused some to spill onto the table. Vanessa set down her spoon. Her voice was calm but icy. Clean it up. Next time, whoever spills food eats off the floor. When Emma leaned over to clean the mess, sharp pain shot through her leg, but she remained silent. Vanessa stood and said emotionlessly, starting tomorrow, you eat and clean on your own. No running through the house. And remember, this living room is for adults. That night, Emma lay beside her brother, listening to the sound of Vanessa's heels echoing downstairs. Liam's sleep was restless, and each time he whimpered, Emma whispered softly, It's okay. I'm here. By the third day, the house already felt different. The curtains stayed closed. The kitchen locked after each meal. When neighbors asked, Vanessa said David was away for work and that she just wanted peace and quiet. Mrs. Henderson, the elderly woman next door, once brought a basket of apples. But Vanessa barely opened the door. She muttered thanks and shut it immediately. Emma tried changing her bandages, but didn't know how tight to wrap them. Her trembling hands pulled too hard. By afternoon, the bruise had turned deep purple. Saturday afternoon. Vanessa spent hours on the phone gossiping with friends about having to care for someone else's brats. Emma stood silently by the door, heart sinking. That night, Liam had a fever. He called for his mother, but no one came. Emma placed a damp towel on his forehead and held his hand until his breathing calmed. Downstairs, Vanessa sat in the dim living room with a glass of wine. On the table lay bank statements, insurance documents, information about David's savings accounts. She read them over and over, her face hardening. The old grandfather clock struck midnight. Vanessa climbed the stairs and stopped outside the children's room. Inside, Liam moaned weakly while Emma's voice sang to soothe him. Vanessa's hand hovered over the doorknob. She hesitated. Then she pulled out a key, inserted it, and slowly turned it. The click of metal echoed cold and final. The next morning, the jingle of keys startled Emma. The door creaked open. Vanessa placed a tray on the floor, cold rice, a hard-boiled egg, and a small glass of water. She didn't look at the children, just spoke softly. Don't complain. Don't spill anything. The door closed again. The lock engaged. Emma helped Liam sit up, carefully lifting the tray. He looked at his sister and whispered hoarsely, "Emma, is Mommy angry at us?" She didn't answer. She served him rice, waiting until he swallowed before eating her portion. Each time she lifted the spoon, her injured leg throbbed. When Vanessa returned to collect the tray, Emma gathered her courage. "Mom, the doctor said my leg needs new bandages. Can we go today? Please?" Vanessa stopped, eyes cold. "It's fine. Don't exaggerate. It'll heal on its own." She took the tray and left. Emma stood silent, then turned back to Liam, who was too young to understand what was happening. At noon, the doorbell rang. Vanessa opened to two elegantly dressed women. They laughed loudly, their perfume filling the house. Vanessa told the children to stay upstairs. The siblings huddled by the window as the aroma of food drifted up. Liam asked, "Emma, are we going to eat too?" She smiled faintly. "Not now, sweetie. Mom said later." When the laughter faded, Emma carefully led Liam downstairs. A glass of milk sat on the table. Emma poured some into a smaller cup for Liam. The boy had barely taken a sip when Vanessa's sandals echoed behind them. "Emma." Her voice cut like metal. The glass slipped from Liam's hands. Milk spilling. Vanessa strode forward, gripping Emma's wrist. "Who told you that you could do this?" He was thirsty. "I just wanted enough." Ungrateful child. Vanessa pointed toward the trash bin outside. "Take it out. Clean everything." Emma limped forward with her crutch. Going down the steps, the bin tilted and garbage spilled. She bent to pick it up, but her crutch slipped and she fell hard. Glass shattered. Vanessa stood in the doorway, expressionless. After a moment, she said coldly, "Enough. Go to your room." That night, Vanessa dined alone with wine. She called a friend. "I swear those kids are impossible. They just don't obey." Her friend giggled. "They're kids, Vanessa. Be patient." "Where's David?" "Still offshore. Won't be back for a while. If I have to live like this 2 more months, I'm going to lose my mind." When the call ended, she ordered cosmetics online. A message from David appeared. "How are the kids? Is Emma's leg hurting? Please remember her checkup." Vanessa scrolled past without responding. Upstairs, Emma changed her leg bandage. The old wrap was torn, skin darkened. She cut clean cloth, tied it tightly, and bit her lip against the pain. Liam watched. "Does it hurt, Emma?" She forced a smile. "I can handle it." That night they lay side by side. Liam murmured, "I want to see Daddy." Emma stroked his hair and hummed softly, a lullaby their real mother used to sing. It was day 20 since David had left. The morning sky was gray, wind blowing hard. Vanessa woke late, drinking coffee while scrolling through her tablet. Passing by the children's room, she heard clinking spoons. When she opened the door, Emma sat beside Liam, holding a cookie box. Liam ate quickly, crumbs on his shirt. Vanessa looked at the box, the kind she'd hidden in the kitchen cabinet. Emma tried to explain. He was hungry, so Vanessa interrupted. She said nothing for several seconds. Her gaze was cold, distant. Then she calmly closed the door and walked downstairs. Her steps were firm and heavy. Emma stood still, clutching the cookie box. The air grew thick, heavy. Downstairs, Vanessa opened the storage closet and pulled out an old, rusted padlock. She turned it in her hands, then slipped it into her coat pocket. She looked up toward the stairs, no anger in her eyes, no regret. Just cold, deliberate calm. Vanessa's heels echoed as she stopped at the children's room. Holding the iron padlock. Liam sat in his sister's lap, eyes red from crying, while Emma tried to hide the cookie box. Vanessa observed them, gaze empty. Downstairs, she said softly. Go to the basement. Stay there quietly. Emma trembled. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I promise. Now. Vanessa turned and walked away. The sound of Emma's crutch thumped unevenly on the steps, mixing with Liam's trembling breaths. The basement door opened. Damp air, thick with the smell of oil and old cement, rose to greet them. Vanessa flicked a switch. A yellowed bulb flickered above. She pointed. Sit there. You'll stay here until you learn to obey. I promise, Emma begged. I just wanted to feed my brother. Vanessa didn't respond. She pushed them inside and closed the metal door. Liam screamed. Emma tried to pull him back, but the door slammed shut. The bolt slid with a heavy click. Outside, Vanessa's footsteps faded. Inside, only their ragged breathing filled the air. Emma pressed her ear against the cold door. Mom? Mom, I'm sorry. I won't take anything again. No response. Just creaking floorboards above. Emma knocked harder. Liam curled up in a corner, covering his ears. Emma sat beside him. It's okay. She's going to open it soon. She just wants to scare us. But her trembling voice betrayed her disbelief. The next morning, the padlock rattled. Vanessa cracked open the door. A tray of cold food and water slid across the floor. Emma ran toward her. Mom, please. I'm sorry. Let me out. I'll be good. Vanessa's eyes passed over her. Eat, then we'll talk. The door closed again. Emma shared the food with Liam, but he didn't want to eat. She broke off small pieces, feeding him by hand. Come on, Liam. You have to be strong. I'm not hungry, he mumbled. I just want to go back to our room. We will. Soon, she replied with a forced smile. When Liam fell asleep, Emma began to explore. Her fingers brushed the rough, cold wall. The cement was cracked in some places. From one crack, a slight draft filtered through, smelling of damp earth. Day 2. No one opened the door. No food, no water. Emma squeezed the remaining bottle, rationing tiny sips for Liam. By evening, Liam had a fever. His skin burned. Delirious, he called for his mother. Emma tore a piece of her blouse to wipe his forehead. Her leg throbbed under the loose bandage, swollen, purple, raw. She whispered, We just have to wait. She opened the door. But her voice grew weaker. Night fell. Darkness enveloped them. Above, footsteps echoed. Vanessa's heels stopped just above the basement. A shadow slid through the crack of light under the door, then disappeared. No key turned. Just the slow sound of heels walking away. Day 3. Liam vomited. His lips were cracked. Emma held him against her chest. Her voice broke. Mom! Please, Mom, Liam is sick. Please. Silence. She pounded on the door with her fists, then with her crutch. The metallic sound echoed. Her arms gave out. Tears burned her eyes. Then she noticed the crack in the wall. She touched it. The air was stronger now. An idea flickered. She crawled to the corner, picked up a rusted nail, and began chipping at the crumbling cement. The sound was faint but steady. Tap, 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 like a fragile heartbeat of determination. Liam's breathing became shallow. Emma's hands bled, but she kept going. When the crack widened enough for wind to brush her face, Emma collapsed against the wall, gasping. "We're getting out," she whispered. "I'll find someone to help us." Upstairs, Vanessa passed by with coffee. Near the basement door, she stopped. She heard it, the faint sound of metal scraping cement. She tilted her head, listening. Then she smiled, a small, chilling curve on her lips. But without saying a word, she climbed the stairs. Her heels sounded slow, steady, gradually fading. Behind her, the noise continued, weak but persistent. By the 5th day, hunger had gone quiet. Emma stopped counting drops from the pipe. She measured time by temperature. When cold bit her skin, she knew it was night. Liam started mumbling in his sleep, calling for his father. Emma no longer had water or strength to calm him. As she leaned forward, a piece of cement crumbled, revealing a small crack. A light breeze passed through, cooler, lighter. Emma froze. Hope moved inside her. "There's a way out, Liam," she whispered. "We won't be here forever." Searching the floor, Emma found the rusted nail. The scars on her palm throbbed as she began chipping at the crack again. Slowly, steadily. That night, the door creaked. Vanessa entered with a food bag. Emma quickly covered the hole with an old rag. Vanessa didn't fully enter. She left the bag on the floor, eyes scanning the dimly lit room. Her gaze stopped on the wall behind Emma, fresh scratches visible. She crouched, running a finger over the marks. "What's this?" I don't know." Vanessa's eyes locked onto hers for several seconds, dark and sharp. Then she stood, threw the food box onto the floor and said coldly, "Eat." She left. Emma remained motionless until the footsteps faded. Then she returned to the wall, running her fingers over the scratches. Through the dust, she felt air moving. She whispered, "We're getting out of here, Liam. I'm going to find a way." The basement air felt thick. Emma woke to Liam's weak moans. His skin burned with fever. She placed a trembling hand on his forehead. "He won't make it. I have to find a way out." Her eyes moved toward the ventilation grate. The old iron grate hung loose from the wall. This time, Emma gathered all her strength. She grabbed the metal edge and pulled hard. The sound of iron scraping cement cut through the silence. The piece finally gave way, throwing her backward. Sharp pain shot through her side. But a thin ray of light pierced the darkness, weak, yet still blinding after so many days. Emma squinted. Tears filled her vision as cold breeze caressed her face. That wind meant freedom. "Liam, wake up. We're getting out," she said softly. Liam barely moaned. Emma removed her torn shirt, wrapped it around him, and tied the ends around her waist to hold him against her body. The duct was narrow. Emma placed Liam in front and began pushing him forward, inch by inch. The jagged metal tore at her hands. Her shoulders hit the walls again and again. "Before we continue, please take a moment to leave a comment about this story and rate it from 1 to 10. How are you feeling? If there's anything you'd like to share, I'm always here to listen. I hope you find a moment of peace and reflection as you follow this healing story and its journey of courage and justice." The draft grew stronger. They were close. Then a sound froze her. Click, click. The basement door opened. Heels slowly resonated. A faint scent of wine filled the air. Vanessa's voice descended. "Emma." Emma's entire body tensed. Liam's breathing whistled beside her. She covered his mouth with her hand. The footsteps approached. Light spilled down the stairs. "Come out, sweetheart," Vanessa murmured. "Don't make your mother angry again." Emma bit her lip. She crawled forward and pushed Liam harder. Then the metal screeched. "Emma!" Vanessa's voice exploded. Heels pounded down the stairs. Suddenly, a scream. "Emma! What are you doing?" Emma didn't respond. She pushed until Liam's head emerged. A blast of cold night air hit his face. She slid out behind him as metal tore her blouse. When she finally got out, she fell hard onto wet ground. The impact left her dazed. Mud seeped between her fingers. Rain soaked her hair. She opened her eyes and saw the pale sky, the first guy she'd seen in days. Liam, she whispered. The boy lay motionless, lips bluish. Emma hugged him, trying to share her warmth. Behind them, a door flew open. Vanessa had found them. Emma. Her voice was venomous. Come back here! Now! Emma didn't turn. She grabbed Liam and dragged him toward the backyard fence, where a dim light glowed from the neighbor's house. The ground was soaked. Mud swallowed her feet. Behind them, Vanessa's heels clicked. Ungrateful girl. I told you to stop. Emma gasped, vision blurring. Only one thought repeated, get Liam out of here. The fence was close. Her hands trembled. Liam's head rested limply on her shoulder. She touched the wooden planks. Behind her, another scream. Vanessa ran forward, gripping her wineglass, knuckles white. Lightning illuminated her face, twisted, furious. Give him to me. Emma turned, hugging her brother, pressing her back against the fence. She no longer had strength to run. Rain fell in sheets. Thunder rumbled. I'm not going back, she whispered. Vanessa lunged forward, slipped in mud, steadied herself, and advanced again. Then another sound split the night, the screech of tires. Both froze. Headlights from a car flooded the backyard, bathing the scene in blinding white light. Two children trembling in mud, and a woman standing rigid under the storm. Emma squinted, shielding Liam. She didn't know who it was, only that this light brought hope. A car engine hummed. Then the thud of a door closing. Emma barely heard anything. Her world blurred between white light and rain. Her body went limp, arms still clinging to her brother. Alexander Morrison stepped forward. The scene left him paralyzed. A woman stood motionless, dress soaked, a half-spilled glass of wine trembling in her hand. On the ground, two children lay huddled, a girl clutching her younger brother. Both covered in mud. The woman looked up, startled. Who are you? It's fine, really. They just got dirty playing. Her voice trembled with a forced smile. Alexander didn't respond. His gaze landed on the girl. Emma lay on her side, arm tightly around Liam, face pale, lips blue. Neither moved. He knelt beside them. The boy's breathing was barely noticeable. Alexander touched his forehead. It burned. The boy has a fever, he said quietly. How long have they been out here? Vanessa stepped back. I just found them. They must have gone out on their own. Alexander looked directly into her eyes. There was no anger, just heavy, serene silence. Without a word, he slid his arms under the boy and lifted him. He was so light it was frightening. He turned toward the girl, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Sweetheart, can you hear me? Stay awake. Emma's eyelids trembled. Yes, I'm just sleepy. No, you can't sleep. It's too cold. Alexander removed his coat and wrapped it around her. Then he looked up. Call an ambulance. Vanessa stood motionless. I don't have my phone. Alexander pulled out his cell and dialed. 2 injured children. One with high fever, possibly unconscious. Address, 74 Oakwood Drive, near Mrs. Henderson's house. Send an ambulance immediately. He hung up and shouted, Mrs. Henderson! Are you home? A figure appeared. Mrs. Henderson, a frail widow, rushed out. Dear God! What happened? Please bring some blankets, Alexander said firmly. Within seconds, Mrs. Henderson returned with a thick wool blanket. Alexander spread it over Emma, then held Liam in his arms. Behind them, Vanessa sobbed. No. It wasn't my fault. I just came out here. I didn't do anything. No one responded. Sirens grew louder. When paramedics arrived, Alexander refused to step away. He placed Liam on the stretcher, holding the small hand while a nurse checked his pulse. They're dehydrated and exhausted, the nurse said. We need fluids immediately. Vanessa stepped forward. I'll go with them. I'm family. Alexander turned. You're not going anywhere. You'll stay here and explain everything to the police. I'll go with the children. She opened her mouth, but words didn't come. Alexander and paramedics loaded the children into the ambulance. Mrs. Henderson whispered through the window, "God bless them." I knew something wasn't right. He nodded and closed the door. As the ambulance drove away, flashing lights illuminated house facades. Alexander sat beside the stretchers, eyes fixed on the children. Liam's fever was rising. Emma trembled under the blanket. He reached out, took her hand small, freezing, and murmured, "You're going to be okay. I promise." Emma blinked slowly. Who? Who are you? Just someone who was passing by. Did you see my daddy? She whispered. He hesitated. Your daddy will be here soon. For now, you need to rest. She nodded barely, closing her eyes. But her hand gripped his, refusing to let go. 6 weeks after the incident, the courthouse in Austin opened its doors for a public hearing. Vanessa Blake's name filled headlines. People crowded, some curious, others indignant. The doors opened. Vanessa was escorted in, hands cuffed in front. She wore a plain blouse, gray pants, hair tied in a perfect bun. Her face looked thinner, colorless, without makeup, without expression. Passing by the public, she kept her head down, avoiding all eyes. David Martinez sat in the third row with his 2 children. Emma wore a light blue dress, legs still bandaged. Liam sat quietly on his father's lap, eyes wide with nerves. In front of them, Alexander held a thick folder. Face serene but firm. The judge's voice cut through the murmurs, deep and deliberate. The court will now proceed with the trial of the accused, Vanessa Blake, on charges of unlawful imprisonment and child abuse. No one moved. The air grew dense. The first witness called was Alexander. He stood slowly, steps firm. Reaching the stand, he looked directly at the panel. "Mr. Alexander Morrison," the prosecutor began, "can you recount what you witnessed that night?" His voice was low but steady. "I was driving down Oakwood Drive, passing by the Martinez house. I saw 2 children in the backyard. The older girl held her brother. They were soaked, covered in mud. The boy wasn't moving. I stopped the car, ran toward them, and saw the woman, the accused, come out with a wine glass. When I asked what happened, she said the children were just playing. I didn't believe her. So I called emergency. Did you notice any visible injuries?" "Yes. The girl's leg was casted, dirty and broken. The boy was dehydrated, lips cracked, skin pale. Both were extremely weak. I carried them in my car and drove directly to the hospital." Brief silence. The judge nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Morrison. You may step down." When Alexander returned to his seat, his eyes met Emma's. The girl gave him a slight, almost imperceptible nod. He responded with a faint, reassuring smile. Next, Mrs. Henderson took the stand. Her hands trembled as she held the microphone, voice wavering but sincere. "I've lived next door for over 2 years." At first, Vanessa seemed kind, even polite. "But after Mr. Martinez left for work, I started hearing the children cry. Sometimes at night, I'd hear thuds, then silence. I thought about calling the police, but was afraid of being wrong. Afraid of intruding." She paused, tears rolling down her cheeks. "If I'd been braver, maybe those poor children wouldn't have suffered like that." Behind her, Emma lowered her head. David placed a hand gently on her shoulder. When the prosecution presented evidence, the entire room fell silent. On screens appeared enlarged photographs. The damp, moldy basement, freshly plastered walls with cement, rusted padlocks, dark stains on the floor. Beside them, medical reports, infection, malnutrition, severe dehydration. The chief physician from the hospital was next. If they'd arrived 2 or 3 days later, the girl would have lost her leg. The boy might not have survived. The prosecutor turned toward Vanessa. "Does the accused wish to address the court?" For the first time that morning, Vanessa lifted her head. Her eyes were dark, lost. "I didn't mean to hurt them," she whispered. "I just wanted them to obey me. I lost control. I never thought it would go so far." A murmur rippled through the room. David closed his eyes, fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. Alexander didn't move. His gaze remained firm, not with rage, but with silent compassion. The prosecutor's response was blunt. No one has the right to teach obedience through cruelty. Late afternoon. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned. No one dared breathe. The judge unfolded the verdict and read aloud. The accused, Vanessa Blake, is found guilty of child abuse and unlawful imprisonment. Sentence: 12 years in state prison. The gavel struck hard. Vanessa bowed her head, hair falling forward, covering her face. After a moment, she looked up and scanned the room one last time. There was no defiance in her eyes, just emptiness. The expression of someone who already knew her fate. When officers approached, she briefly turned toward the public. Her gaze found Emma. The girl clung to her father, trembling. David leaned down, hugging her tightly. It's over, sweetheart. It's all over. Emma nodded softly. She didn't cry. She just looked toward the courtroom door where Vanessa disappeared. Outside, Alexander stepped into the fresh afternoon air. The sky had cleared after the morning rain. A light breeze moved tree leaves. He stopped under their shade, listening as the crowd dispersed, voices fading in the distance. Some reporters called his name, but he just raised a hand declining. He hadn't gone there for attention. Moments later, David came out with the children. He stopped beside Alexander. I don't even know what to say. If it hadn't been for you, I would have lost everything, David murmured. Alexander shook his head. I only did what anyone should have done. David smiled wearily. But not everyone stops to help. They shook hands affirm. Silent grip, full of understanding. Nu bijinen ing 3 months after the trial. House number 74 on Oakwood Drive was finally put up for sale. No one wanted to touch it. Except one man. On a fog-covered morning, Alexander Morrison stopped in front of the white-weathered door. He didn't ask the price. As the real estate agent searched for words, he simply said, I'll take it. I'm starting from scratch. Renovation began immediately. The entire basement was demolished. Where once a concrete wall blocked light, Alexander had a skylight built, a large opening letting sun reach the lower floor. They changed floors, painted walls soft cream, and lined the hallway with small trees. David handled electrical and plumbing, while Mrs. Henderson managed the new community space. Alexander planned to turn into a support center for abused children. Emma and Liam came every day. Emma could now walk with crutches, slow but steady. She carried small flower pots, watered them carefully, and placed tiny name labels on each. Liam, healthier and more curious than ever, smiled ear to ear, hanging drawings on the wall, running to Alexander to show him. Eyes shining with joy. Alexander didn't talk much, but he was always there. Each time Emma crossed the patio, Alexander stopped for a moment, watching her as if afraid to miss something precious. Sometimes David passed by with wooden frames or tools. They all worked side by side in silence, occasionally exchanging a slight nod, just the silent understanding of two men who'd survived the same storm from different shores. When the center was finally finished, they held a small opening. No reporters or officials, just neighbors, volunteers, and children who'd recently arrived. Walls were covered with children's drawings, vivid colors, clumsy strokes, but full of light. Just above where the old basement stairs once stood, Alexander placed a bronze plaque engraved. The door that was once closed in darkness now opens toward the light. At the ceremony's end, Emma approached and touched the plaque delicately, tracing each letter with small fingers. Liam stood behind, holding her hand. Sir, Emma said, looking up, do you think there are others out there? Like us? Alexander held her gaze for a long moment. His voice was low but certain. Yes, many more than you imagine. But someday, you'll be the one showing them that the light still exists. Emma nodded, lips pressed together. She said nothing more, just slowly turned, looking around. Sunlight filtered through the skylight, spreading across the floor and reflecting softly on her face. Glow so pure it seemed to erase every shadow from the old basement. That afternoon, a gentle breeze swept through the porch, carrying children's laughter from the backyard. Emma opened the center's front door, letting wind paint her hair golden. She watched Liam run after a ball alongside two other children, laughing heartily. Nearby, Mrs. Henderson placed cookies on the table, glancing at them with grateful calm. Later, David arrived with a new wooden frame. He placed it on the wall by the window, a photograph of the three of them, taken the day the center was completed. No one was posing, yet each face showed genuine smiles. Behind them, Alexander appeared with crossed arms, watching. The tension that once marked his features had disappeared. What remained was calm, a rare, simple, complete peace. David turned toward him and said quietly, "You know, when I left that house, I thought I'd never return. But maybe coming back was the only way to truly move forward." Alexander smiled faintly, gaze fixed on the open patio. No one ever completely walks away from what once touched their soul. But we can change what it means to us. David nodded. "You did it." Alexander didn't respond. His eyes followed Emma, who moved slowly toward the door, each tap of her crutch sounding soft but firm. As she pushed the door open, sunlight flooded the room, bathing the drawings, bronze plaque, and her hair in golden glow. "Come on, Emma." Liam tugged at her sleeve. "It's so sunny outside. Coming." "You run first," she laughed. Alexander leaned against the doorframe, watching children run toward the patio. Sunlight spread across new grass, shining like gold. Laughter echoed, carried by the breeze. He remained there a long while, gaze fixed on the open door, a door that no longer symbolized hope but had become hope itself. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Not because justice had triumphed, nor because evil had been punished, but because at last, those children, after everything they'd endured, were finally